Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, people, and welcome to Footy Judge Mo. Welcome to another stream where Arsenal closed the gap on Liverpool by 4 points only. Marmoush stars with a hat-trick. He arrived at the Premier League. Nico Gonzalez yesterday, the tactical adjustment and the absolute brilliance of a DM. Surprise, surprise, when City have a DM and they have a second striker, they score a lot of goals. Newcastle did not do well, but Man City tore them apart. We're here to talk about that as well. And also, Amad Diallo's out for the season for Manchester United. So if you're watching this now, hit that like button. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure to like the video. Before you go on and enjoy it, make sure that like button is smashed. It's lit. It doesn't cost you a penny, but it helps the channel massively. Also, Nobbins Channel is in the description. He's done a lot of tactical analysis of some of the City players. If you're interested in that, it's absolutely brilliant content as usual. I got a haircut, by the way.
I asked that off stream. I thought I saw a fade.
Yeah, I just got a haircut. Good. My wife is not gonna like it. She doesn't like my hair short though.
Oh my gosh, you've gone against what the missus wants.
Yes, yes.
Behavior.
She's like, if it's I'm not taking you. Like if he cut your hair so short, so I'm like, see, it is what it is. I'm sure she's watching. So
yes, you're gonna get battered later today.
Well, against Juventus, you mean?
Well, physically and in the footballing space, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But if we win, we're top of of our league, which is something that you can say. But listen, how are you doing? So good morning. It's 11 a.m. your time.
It is. Yes.
Yet?
No, I don't normally do breakfast, but I probably should. Yeah, I'm good. Yes, went out for Valentine's yesterday. It was lovely and very fun.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Is it? Valentine was not yesterday.
Yeah, but that was a Friday. We wanted to go out on the Saturday.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
So this is like our Valentine's weekend.
We actually went out on Friday, actually. So.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was super cold though here, so we're gonna have food and
cool
stuff.
As in like good vibes, or cool as in temperature?
Cold. It was cold, actually. There's a lot of wind here. There's a lot of wind.
Your auntie again. Never mind.
What?
I made a joke about your auntie farting a lot.
Oh yeah. Where do we start? We have to. I want to actually, before we go on and talk about City, I wanted to touch on the Amad Diallo news yesterday for Man United. To be honest with you, they play Spurs tonight. They were targeting the Europa League. I said yesterday on the stream that I don't think they are now gonna win the Europa League. They're still in the cup. I don't think they're gonna win anything without Amad Diallo. It's the only one. Kobe Maino's out as well for several weeks.
Is he?
Yeah. So Amad Diallo's out for the people that don't know. Amad Diallo's out for the rest of the season, similar to Kai Havertz. Let me ask you something. Do you think Amorim was the right appointment at all? In hindsight, now.
Oh no, we can't do this. This is far too early, isn't it?
You think so?
Yeah, he's not even had like a transfer window. Like, we need to chill on that. Like, he's inherited a squad which is been a mixed bag of shite from 3, 4, 5 managers, however many managers, who are not really set up to play any way or any particular style, never mind a very particular physically demanding style that Amorim necessitates. So in terms of, it depends what your starting point is. If you want your starting point to be Amorim should stick to his principles and should be playing his own football in order to weed out who can and can't play his style, which is what I think he should do, then it's going to inevitably lead to, dross performances and players who can't play that way. Now, maybe you could argue that he could have done better in some of those moments, but I just think in general that we definitely need to reserve judgment until Amorim's given his own players and until he can actually...
about that, Mo, as me judge Mo, which is something that I kind of different than a lot of people, I don't think that a coach's footprint or a coach's style or a coach's way of playing needs to be seen after he gets his own players. I'm someone who's very convinced that a coach can show me what he can do, even with some of the players that are from different coaches. Like, I'm always like this. Even when Pep Guardiola came to England, he still played his style of football. Jurgen Klopp played his style of football. Yes, I understand if you're not getting results. I understand if you're reaching the goal and the players are not, for example, delivering, if you have the defensive way of playing the passes and the passes are not arriving. The problem now is that at this current moment, I see Amorim changing left and right. I think he crumbled under pressure, in my opinion. The pressure of Man United, the 80,000 people that go to the stadium have gone into his head. You know what I mean? Like, because I have seen Antonio Conte come to Inter, for example. Yes, he demanded 3-4 players in that window. But from minute one, I see the style. Inzaghi, the same for Inter. I see the style of play. Even in the Premier League, there are some coaches, the Glasner for Crystal Palace, we have seen the footprint right away. And there are others. I'm going to say even Ange Postecoglou, when he joined Spurs. You see the footprint. I'm looking at Man United now, and I'm thinking, why hasn't he established a way of playing that even Man United fans can say, yes, I see what you're trying to do. I saw it in the first 2-3 games, or even you can say 5. But then after this, I'm not talking about, you know the difference. You're very well educated in football. There is a difference between 4-3-3, 3-4-3, 5-3-2, and an actual patterns of play. I see the same pattern of play happen every time, and the players are not delivering. Everyone can put a formation of 3-4-3. Like, I can go and say, here you go, 3 center backs, 4 in the middle and 3 up top. But in terms of patterns of play, way of reaching the goal, way of defending, that's what I haven't seen from Amorim until this moment.
Yeah, I think that's harsh, personally. I think I have seen, some established principles of play at Man United. Now whether they're working, I think, is another matter. But I do still think that I'm going to stick by my guns. And I'm going to say that we need to be patient with. Well, I don't need to be patient. I hope he gets sacked. I don't care if he succeeds. But as a sort of attempt in neutral here, I think that you've got to wait and see, because again, with even when Pep came in for City, his starting point in terms of the squad was nowhere near as bad as it was with Amorim. Same with Klopp. Same with even Ange, whoever. It's not even about the individual quality of the players at United, because you can say, well, Glasner at Palace inherited worse players, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. It's not about the individual quality of the players. It's about how they clearly don't complement one another for this very particular way of playing. And I think when you have that combined with, the relative inexperience of Amorim, obviously, in the Premier League, then I think you get this situation. So I'd personally still reserve judgment. I don't think it's fair to judge him based on this season. It's obviously a massive risk from United, because if you're going to go with Amorim, then you need to properly back him, and you need to go in hard in the market. So many tens / hundreds of millions will need to be spent. But if they've gone for it, they've gone for it. So I'm interested to see how it'll work. Whether it will, that'll be another matter. But yeah, I can't possibly comment properly on it until I've seen him. Like, you can't have like a midfield of like Merino and Bruno Fernandes or whatever, and like be expected to succeed with an Amorim setup. It's just never going to work. They're always going to get torn apart.
Can I ask you something? Is it easier? I had this argument with Terry the other day. Is it easier? You can't change your ownership now, and you can't change all the players. They don't have the financial power to change all the players. If the coach doesn't work, it's the easiest thing to do is change your coach. However, it didn't work for Man United over the years, yes. But at the same time, the mentality of the club hasn't changed. And in my opinion, if Amorim doesn't turn it around, maybe by halfway through next season, if he's getting 3-4 players, I actually think that they need to go for someone that is more, because I thought Amorim would be, to be honest with you, I thought Amorim would be someone who has authority, the way he speaks to the media, the way he, articulate his opinion and all the stuff. I think the problem at Man United is his mentality. And if Amorim cannot change that, I don't think if you change the whole team, it will be fixed. The mentality from top to bottom is rotten, in my opinion.
Oh no, yeah, it definitely.
I would say you should go for a coach that is more experienced, a coach that can turn the mentality around, that can change how players think about Manchester United as a football club. You get my point. Like at City, you join City, you're already joining a team that are full of winners, that are a team that is the board. Everyone at the club, from top to bottom, even to the guys that are under 15, know that the aim is just to win every single game. Arsenal the same, Liverpool the same. I don't think that mentality is at Man United. They accepted mediocrity, and that is the problem.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right that the easiest thing to do would be to get rid of the manager, because one thing that I said, as soon as Amorim was appointed, was United squad is just not built for this style of play. Like, you look at their fullbacks, for example, like they're going to have to sign like at least 3 or 4 fullbacks / wingbacks, in order to get it up to speed. So it was absolutely a massive risk to bring him in, because it necessitated mass investment and bringing in a number of players who would work with his style of play. So of course it was a massive risk, and of course the easier thing to do would be, to get rid of the manager. Well, the easier thing to do would have been to not bring in a manager who needed a mass overhaul. But I'm assuming that they wanted this mass change, so therefore it makes sense to bring in a manager who will bring that mass change with him. So yeah, it's a tricky one. You could say, yeah, the circumstance they're in now, it would be easier to sack, but I don't think that's the best thing to do. Just because it's the easiest thing to do, I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do, if that makes sense.
You think United should go through a process?
I think that if the starting point was we're going to bring in this manager, the understanding being that we are going to bring in his players in the summer, then I think that you've got to follow through on that. You've got to bring through his players in the summer. And then from there, if it still is a stinky time, then they've made a massive blunder. But you'd like to think, if you're a United fan, that the new ownership picked their man ages in advance, and you'd like to think they're going to get it right from their perspective. I obviously hope it fails, and I hope they get it wrong. But to me, that seems the most logical thing to do. I think you've got to try to stand by your principles at least a little bit, rather than just go, this is a bit too hard. Let's just like throw it out. I think you're throwing away the baby with the bathwater if you do that.
Well, we'll see what happens. I just don't think that Man United, when they sign Ugarte, when they sign Lenioro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, and all these guys, they're now not going to go and change all of these players when they renewed Bruno Fernandes. I think he will. I think by next season he will have the same team plus 2 or 3 more players. That's.
I think a lot of those players will work. You know, Ugarte obviously has already worked with Amorim before. I think Bruno Fernandes is also going to be a player who can definitely do that. And I have question marks on De Ligt, in fairness. Mazraoui, I think, could, because I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like he's mainly been playing out at wing back. I feel like in an Amorim system, he should probably be like the right centre back. So I think he could definitely work as well. So of those players you've mentioned, and Euro's obviously a child, isn't he? So I think the only new signings that you've mentioned that I have my doubts on would be De Ligt. But outside of them, I think the rest can definitely work. I think the main thing will be, what do you do with Kobbie Mainoo? You know, do you play him as like a 10? Do you then bring in a space-eating midfielder to partner Ugarte? You know, not saying this player, obviously, because it can't happen. Someone like Declan Rice to put in that midfield, I think, would be an immediate difference maker and would immediately improve everyone around that midfield as well.
The only question would be, would Man United be able to attract these big names? Like, would a Declan Rice want to go? Would these players want to go to Man United? I think we'll have to wait and see. A lot of Man United fans are saying, yeah, we always attract players. And I believe you. But that was like 5 years ago. At the current moment, I don't think a lot of players would want to go to Man United. Like, for example, if they can pull out Eucharist from Sporting Lisbon, in my opinion, if Arsenal are in for him, for example, I'm just giving an example. If Arsenal are in for him and Man United are in for him, the only thing that Man United have over them is the manager. Would he choose to go through a process at the age of 28, if I'm not mistaken, or would he go to an Arsenal team that is ready, or a Liverpool team that is ready already? And I think that would be the battle that Man United will face if they go for the big names that everyone is going for. Like if they try to sign Zubamendi, for example, and Man City, for example, go for Zubamendi, or Liverpool or Arsenal, I think logically speaking, I think the player would choose these other clubs that are ready instead of going to Man United and try to revive the team. And I hear a lot of people saying that, if you come to Man United and be the hero to turn it around, it won't be a player. It won't be one player. Like, they won't go to Zubamendi and tell him, yeah, you're the one who's going to turn it around. It has to be a mass change, as you said, and that would be the battle for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think they have to immediately go. I mean, I just said Declan Rice as more of like a physical profile rather than like an actual player to get. I think that maybe the most realistic, because you're absolutely right that, you know, United can and have historically attracted big players. And my take on that has always been, that's not necessarily a good thing, because if you're able to attract a on paper world-class player when you're not even like, when you're struggling and lots of work needs to be done, for me that sends a big red flag to, why is that player wanting to come to you? So like so for example, you know, like Di Maria, for example, he was like man of the match in the Champions League final, and then he's signing for was it David Moyes' Man United when they weren't even in like the Champions League? I'm like, why have you made that move? That just seems a bit weird. And it came out later, I literally just went there for the money. Now, you don't want to be attracting those sorts of players realistically. So I think that maybe the first step is to go, first of all, maybe in terms of like a quality level, maybe even go for like the tier below the absolute top tier players, but get players who, from a profile perspective, fit the system, run it as a proof of concept, and then if it works, you can, and obviously you do better in the league, then you can go for the higher quality players who match the profile and also have that extra little bit of quality as well. And hopefully you'd like to think by that point, from a United perspective, that you are then able to attract those sorts of players naturally, rather than just going, we're Man United, we're going to give you loads of money. You want them to know that they're coming to your club, not just because of the name and not just because of like your status and financial situation. So I think that's probably, that would be the most sensible routes to take, I think.
Yeah, guys, there's 300 people in the house, so hit that like button, people. Come on, let's get the likes to 200. Hit that like button. It looks like thumbs up if you don't know. It helps the channel, helps the algorithms as well. Moving on from Man United to the Man City game yesterday. I thought Marmoush was fantastic. I'm happy for him.
He was all right, wasn't he? He was all right.
It was okay. You know, I thought, you know what? You know, I said just 2 days ago that I don't think he will work for Manchester City. Just for him to respond and say, yes, hold my beer, I will score a hat-trick. I think actually Pep adapted to Marmoush yesterday, playing as a second striker with a lot of space. The long ball, of course, from Edison was brilliant, fantastic, and the run. And even being behind Erling Haaland in that goal that Savinho crossed to him. It helped that Newcastle were wide open for some whatever reason. But do you think that is Marmoush's position, just behind Haaland, and then basically you're giving up on the 10, on the number 10, and you'll have a midfielder that played that role, which is, by the way, it was Gundogan yesterday. Gundogan driving with the ball was phenomenal yesterday. Many times he was driving with the ball. He looked like Gundogan from 3 years ago when he was like driving with the ball control close to his body. He looked physically better. I don't know what he ate that morning, but he looked physically different. You have to agree that he looked physically. He was battering 3 Newcastle players, and I'm like, how? You really lost your legs like 2 weeks ago.
Well, and this is what happens when you put a player next to him who does have legs and can run. You know, Nico Gonzalez is a player who will improve everyone around him. You know, and this is like one of the many effects that Rodri's absence has had. He's a player who improves everyone around him. It's no surprise or coincidence that as soon as Nico comes into the side, Rico Lewis and Gundogan both have fantastic games. And in fact, for me, that was City's best game all season. Oh yeah, just specifically on Marmoush, yes. I don't want to come across as overly, arrogant, but I will say that in my Marmoush analysis video, how he was used yesterday is exactly how I suggested that he should be used at City. You know, with Gvardiol pushing up, with Marmoush's starting position on the left, Gvardiol pushing up, and then Marmoush going into the centre. So that was, it makes total sense to use him like that. He had a great game. In fact, every City player had a great game, to be honest with you. You know, Marmoush, again, doing his XG cheating, where he just needs a couple of opportunities to score, and he gets it on target, and it's normally in the back of the net. It was always going to work out in my view. There was always going to be a question mark of, is he a typical, quotes, Pep player? But I think I'm hoping that what we saw yesterday was almost a blueprint in terms of how City would try to approach next season as well. A lot of this season, there's been zero physical intensity. There's been zero pressing work, counter-pressing, because our players physically can't do it. I'm not having to go at these players, but if you've got a midfield of Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Kovacic, they physically cannot do the job. They do not have the legs to do the job. Conversely, you've got Marmoush, Kusanov, Nico, Foden, Haaland, Savio. It's a far younger side, and they can be more dynamic and direct, and they can somehow body a team like Newcastle, who I know were missing Joelinton. I know they're a little bit tepid, but still, it is still Newcastle with Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes and Willock and Isak and Gordon. You know, they're still a very good side. So yeah, I think this is hopefully going to be the blueprint for City. The average age yesterday for City outfield players was 24. Very exciting side when you got Savio's pace down the wing. You got Gvardiol and Foden's brilliance and blending everything together. You got Gundogan running back the ears when you got Nico next to him. Now imagine that side with Nico in Gundogan's position and Rodri where Nico was, and you've got an even better side as well. Ruben Diaz still to come as well. So positive signs, I think, from a City perspective, for sure.
There's a lot of talk about Foden yesterday. I thought he was all right, but still not back to his best yesterday.
He played well yesterday. Should have got an assist. He was absolutely fine.
He played all right. He played okay. I still think that, fine. To be honest with you, no agendas. I still think that Phil Foden has not found his way of playing or position yet. And as good as he is on the ball, and I saw that yesterday with the dribbling, I still think that if it was me, and I'm a City fan, I want to see Foden be one of the stars, not just a regular player on the team. Like I saw Savinho yesterday doing different. You know what I mean? Be the difference maker. I saw Savinho, by the way, yesterday, even though he got only an assist, he was a difference maker on the team. Nobody can argue this. Like literally, the way he ran that right side, he was a difference maker. Marmoush scoring the goal, I thought Gundogan was a difference maker, Nico Gonzalez. There's no agenda here, but I know, you know what? When you have Mbappe, for example, in your team, and Mbappe is just another guy on the pitch. He's just doing, and you come out of the game and you say, yeah, Mbappe did all right. He was just part of the game. And I'm like, no, I'm expecting more from him. I'm expecting Foden to be, I found the right word, a standout player like Kevin De Bruyne has. I'm not saying the same way, but again, I'm waiting for Foden to be a standout player for City this season. Because Kevin De Bruyne didn't play, I expected him to be a standout player, but he wasn't. Did his job. Nothing negative, but nothing over the top. Just a positive, flat Phil Foden that played all right. By the way, similar for Haaland. Haaland yesterday was just good. That's it. Do you agree with this?
No, I think every City player played very well yesterday.
Very well, you say that.
Yes,
very well.
Definitely. Look, so some players were more flashy. You know, Marmoush scoring goals. That's obviously more flashy.
Savio was more flashy yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the term I'd use. So I think everyone played very well, including the defenders. You know, Hall, and just touching on him. I thought that he didn't score a goal, but I thought that his just like general overall play was absolutely wonderful. Like
movement, just the movement opened for Marmoush. Just the movement by itself.
Yeah, exactly. Gravity, and also just like the willingness to drop deep and assist with his side as well. So I was very happy. Again, like Foden should have had an assist, like Savio sadly didn't finish that one. Not every single player can be, quote, stand out, especially if a player's getting a hat trick. You can't have, you can't have loads of players all standing out all the time. You know, it has happened this season. You know, obviously, I don't think any City players had a truly standout season apart from maybe Gvardiol. I think that he's been our best player. Aside from that, I don't think any City player has been able to have a standout season because of all the issues that have been plaguing City in terms of our midfield injury woes, our defensive woes. Again, I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as Nico comes in, the rest of the team and the attack just looks so much nicer and more fluid. But we have seen, in terms of this season, we have seen wonderful individual performances. You know, there was that run at the start of the year where he was like consistently either scoring or assisting in back-to-back games. He came on against Real Madrid and had a great game, won the penalty, which should have won us the game, but we decided to capitulate. He obviously had a standout season last year when he won Player of the Year. He's had standout seasons in the past as well when he's won Young Player of the Year. This is not the season to judge, from a City perspective, to judge any player on, because I've said it many times, it is not possible for these players to thrive when the balance is not there. For once, the balance was there yesterday, and all the players decided to play well. It's not that they decided to play well; they were able to play well. I think you said something really interesting there, though, which I do sort of agree with. He said something like Foden's not mastered this role. I think he said something like that. Which is that what he said? Something like
about
that.
what? Which part?
I think you were talking about the game, and you said how he's not quite mastered his role or this role. Yes. I can't remember. So I do tend to agree with that to an extent, and I think that that's largely informed by the fact that because Foden is so good, he's played his career. He's played on the right. He's played on the left. He's played as a striker. He's played as a centre. He's played as a false nine. He's played as a 10. He's played as a deeper midfielder as well. And I do think that there is this, and in fairness, I've been happy with the transition. Certainly at the start of the season, Foden was clearly given more of a playmaking directive. Yeah. Now, for whatever reason, you've got a lot of idiots on the internet, and they've decided that Foden can't create. When if you actually watch the matches, the Bournemouth game is the prime example for me. He's out of nowhere, this playmaking bag has come out of nowhere and creating from deep, or even creating from set pieces. So I think that there is this. I think that maybe there is absolutely this evolution in his game. Last season, he added the consistent goal scoring, particularly from outside the box, being quote clutch, whatever you want to call it. He added that to his game. This season, he's now adding that facet to his game as well. So maybe that does explain, to be fair, why he hasn't quite, quote, mastered. a role. And I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. And I think that is because Foden's skill set is such that he's able to be more of this generalist, can play in numerous areas rather than he has to play in one exact certain position and role. This is why when idiots say, he's a system player, that's objectively incorrect because he's played in numerous systems, in numerous positions, and in numerous roles. This is just another one to potentially master. And I really liked his positioning against Newcastle. It was slightly deeper. For me, that is his long-term role in terms of his skill set. I really liked how that worked when you had Marmoush, as you say, as the second striker, Foden a little bit deeper, able to get his head up and orchestrate a little bit more. So yeah, I'm more than happy.
How are you feeling about the Madrid game?
The one that's just happened or the one that's coming up?
No, the one that's coming up.
Well, as I understand it, Ruben Diaz is injured because Pep says he wasn't fit for Newcastle. He wasn't even on the bench. And Ake also is injured because he wasn't fit for Newcastle and wasn't on the bench. So it's a shame because I feel like in terms of the attack, I do think that we can score a fair few goals at the Bernabeu in theory, if the right team is put out, especially if Doku's available to come on as well. I don't think that our defense will be good enough because Diaz will be out. I think we needed Ruben Diaz to start, to be honest with you. If it was our full strength side minus Rodri, I reckon that we could probably win. It'll be interesting to see how Real Madrid will set up, though, because they're probably going to be, because they've got the lead, haven't they? So they're probably going to be sitting off and backing off. So I wonder how much of the ball they'll give City. But if Nico can start, and if Kusanov can start, then we will have a better chance. But if Diaz isn't available, I'm probably expecting us to lose, to be honest with you. I think we've given ourselves too much work.
I think I'm the only one on the internet that actually think that Man City can still win the game.
No, we can. We can. Of course we can.
But people are saying 0 chances, and I'm like, are you crazy? If Pep Guardiola is that good of a coach, which is I believe he is, he can go to Real Madrid, as he did 2 seasons ago, and change the way he plays, stay a little bit deep, invite Real Madrid a little bit. Real Madrid, if Real Madrid sit deep and City sit deep, people think that sometimes, oh, the ball is going to be in the middle. No, it won't. Real Madrid will have to go forward because that's what normally the attacking players at Real Madrid will see an opportunity to attack. Like Mbappe and Vini are not going to just sit deep. They're going to try to attack City. If City sit back a little bit, I'm not saying sit in a low block, but sit back a little bit. Try to play in the transition. Try to isolate Savinho with Mendy, for example. Try to isolate Marmoush on the left. Play behind Valverde, who's a right back, who's naturally is not a right back, and try to create chances with like 3-on-3 if Foden bypasses Camavinga. I think that would be the chance that City can take a lead. What if City take the lead in this game? If City take the lead at any minute, I think the Bernabeu will panic. I know the players won't. I know Ancelotti won't. But I genuinely believe that there will be panic. Because leading 3-2 at the Etihad, a lot of people are, and the media are assuming that the game is over. If City take 1-0 lead, City can be comfortable from that point because you're basically giving yourself a 50% chance. Now, I don't have to do any work. You have to score. It's your ground. Because any other goal from me, you are behind. And I believe City can do this. You can just sit deep, long ball, and hope for the best.
To be fair, that is sort of what, to an extent, that's what we did in the home leg against Real Madrid. We built up with our defensive 5, and that sucked lots of Real Madrid players in. And if you do that, you can create artificial transitions. You can fake counterattacks, whatever terminology you want to use. I would like to see us try that again, 100%. So I'd rather try it. I'd rather try to be defensive in possession rather than out of it, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So I don't want to forfeit the ball and allow Real Madrid to come forward and then we counterattack from there. I would rather we have the ball, play out of a press, and then fake counterattack from there. If hopefully that makes sense, and that can definitely work. And we will get back. And look, if if we are allowed to play, a back five, which includes, Stones and Nico in midfield, I think that Stones illustrated to me that his midfield work has gone up massive levels, because the only evidence I had was the Aston Villa game, and I think there was another game like a couple of seasons before that where he was horrendous. He was horrible in the midfield. So there was no evidence he could do it. Now there is evidence he can do it. So that's lovely to see. So maybe it should be Stones and Nico based on that.
Who's going to play centre back?
Or it depends about fit availability. If Diaz is available, then that would be lovely. If he's not available,
okay, I hear you now.
So it depends. It depends, of course. That I'm hoping there's a bit of copium there. I'm hoping best case scenario, but we'll see. But yeah, even if Stones isn't available, even if Diaz isn't available, you can still have Nico in that midfield, which clearly provides more solidity. There was a night and day difference.
I'll play Nico and Kovacic, to be honest.
Maybe. I quite liked Gundogan's performance against Newcastle. If Gundogan's able to have another go at it, why not? Maybe that's a risk, but I didn't like Kovacic's performance when he came on against Madrid. I thought he was poor.
Yeah, it was complacent.
It was one of the main reasons why we lost, to be honest with you. Like he's a midfielder, and Stones was able to. But
Nobbins, that he won't. You know that he won't replicate that performance. That's not Kovacic. Like that performance was not Kovacic.
Yeah, I'd like to think not, but I don't.
Depends on the evidence we have seen over the years that this is not
indeed.
Kovacic.
Yeah,
Kovacic doesn't come to games and do these things like
hopefully
time,
it was just a one-off. Absolutely. Well, there is a world. There is definitely a world. It depends on what players are fit. If I see Ruben Diaz starting, and Nico starting, and Stone starting, and let's say that attack that played against Newcastle, I think we can win. But that's a big if.
I think so too, to be honest. And people have ridiculed my opinion about it. And I'm like,
no, we definitely can. And it depends. I don't think De Bruyne should start, for example. I think that match against Real Madrid, that was far more high intensity than I thought it was going to be. And De Bruyne was done by about the 50th minute or so. I think that De Bruyne is probably a player who should be looking to come on in, let's say, the 60th minute, something like that. And if we need a goal, maybe try to be a difference maker like that. And basically Pep says, right, you've got 30 minutes, run for those 30 minutes for me. Yeah. You've had all this rest beforehand. Same with Doku. I don't think he should start because he only had 15 minutes against Newcastle. I don't want him to get injured again. Again, he's a player who can maybe come on and be a difference maker, because he was great when he came on last season against Real Madrid, in both legs, I think. Certainly at least one of them. He was very good. That's how we can potentially win the match. The main issue, though, I think, can someone please confirm it? Is Rudiger back, though? And Alaba?
They say he might be back.
Did Rudiger feature at all at the weekend for Madrid?
I can check.
I know he didn't. I know he didn't start, but did he come on or whatever?
Let me check.
Because if Rudiger isn't available, then that is very big. Because as much as I love Haaland, I don't think Haaland's ever had a good game against Rudiger. To be fair, he's very aggressive and strong.
Rudiger was not even on the bench yesterday.
Okay, right. So obviously, I don't want him to be injured, but ideally, I don't want him to be starting. So it would be a big risk to start him, after he's been out for however long. Was it a hamstring injury, maybe? So hopefully it's going to be the same defensive unit for Real Madrid. And on paper, especially with City's attack against Newcastle, we can get at that. And we should be getting at that. Especially with Savio and the great form he's in. We can maybe bring on Doku as well. Foden, Marmoush. We should be able to attack that and have a fun time.
No, I agree. About next season, though, guys, there's almost 400 people in the house. So, guys, can we get to 200 likes live? Hit that like button, people. Come on,
minimum.
Let's get to 200 likes. Minimum.
I want
250.
I want 250.
See, you heard the man. Hit the like button, people. Come on now. 200 likes in the next 5 minutes. Don't be a fraud. Don't be a fraud. For next season, Sam had this argument with Vater yesterday and Terry about next season on the Football Terrace about they're already given City the keys of next season that they're going to win the league. And I'm like, I don't think so. at all. And I have reasons for it before I just ask you the question.
Okay.
I don't think these players, the Kozanov, the Nico Gonzalez, the Marmoush, are full on like, yes, these are the Kevin De Bruyne's, the Gundogans, you know, the Riyad Mahrez's ilk of right away they come in and City are going to win 30 games out of 38 games or 32 games out of 38 games. I think there will be work to be done. I think City need to bring a lot of players in the summer still. There's a lot of replacements that need to be done. You still don't have a right back, basically, on this team.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Ake and Akanji, their body is breaking down. That's what we see. Diaz keeps getting injured as well. You need other center backs. Edison, and he had a good game in terms of like assists yesterday, but he didn't have a save to make, basically yesterday. He didn't have a save to make. So City need a rebuild still. And I don't think that will happen in the summer. City are not going to spend 300, 400 billion because the players that will leave City are not like of a high value of the money. Yes, City will spend the money, but not that much. That's why I think City, even in the beginning of the start of next season, if Arsenal get a striker, City will be third for me until I see the summer.
Really? Because
yes,
this squad is actually better than last season's squad in terms of personnel. So that surprises me. So you think that there's going to be this massive decline?
Not decline, but I think you'll be third in terms of favoritism.
Well, that's a big decline, to be fair, from first to third. It's quite big.
But that's based on the evidence I've seen this season.
But what you've seen this season is a ridiculous injury crisis which will not be replicated. Like what you've seen this season is a ridiculous injury crisis which won't be replicated. This squad is actually better than last season's squad in terms of like the personnel. It's even better because Savio's now in the side where he wasn't last season. Now there were issues last season, but Rodri was there, so he was able to basically, somehow, there was like open heart surgery needed to be done. Rodri was able to staple it all together. Now we should have acted sooner. But the reality was Rodri is so brilliant and had a Ballon d'Or season, and Foden was also so wonderful, and De Bruyne came back and was so wonderful that we're able to win the title last season. This squad's actually better. So next season, again, when Rodri returns, I don't think it's unfair for me. When Rodri returns, City will have the best City will have gone from and this was like a line I dropped in my Nico Gonzalez video. City will have gone from the weakest midfield in the Premier League to the best midfield in the world when you got Rodri and Nico as that midfield. I don't think there's any better in the world for me. If you can name a better duo, let me know. I don't think one exists. So that's a pretty good upgrade. We've touched on, there's never been a problem with the attack for me. It's certainly not in the long term. It was always about the connectivity between the midfield and the attack. We've got Savio, so after his debut season, Haaland is Haaland, Foden is Foden, Doku will be in his third season, Marmoush is Marmoush. We all know how good he is. The biggest issue will be right back. Just sign a right back. Everyone's saying Rice and Zubimendi. Well, Rice is not better than Rodri, and Zubimendi is not better than Nico. So, no. Sorry.
You don't think if Liverpool sign a DM, that midfield of Liverpool is superior to Man City's midfield with Gravenberch, McAllister, and whoever? Zubimendi, for example.
Well, who's the DM?
I don't know.
But I
have the same energy. I didn't know about Nico Gonzalez until he played for City. I knew about him. I knew of him. I didn't know about him. You know the difference. Liverpool can go and scout a DM from Germany or Italy or Spain that we don't know about, that comes in and be bit. And also Nico Gonzalez,
until you tell me the name.
Based on one game, you're assuming that Nico Gonzalez is going to complement Rodri right away.
He is, yes, absolutely, because he's got the skill set to do that. I've watched Nico. I know what sort of player he is. We saw it. We all saw it yesterday. Nico is the perfect complement to Rodri. Yeah, definitely. He's actually got the space eating at his disposal, which Rodri needs next to him. Yeah, he's also got that La Masia upbringing.
You think a midfield of Nico Gonzalez, Rodri, and Foden is the best in the league?
Well, I'm talking out of possession, so you only need two players.
Oh, you're talking about a pivot, a double pivot.
Yeah, because if we're talking about in possession midfields, then for City we can include 5 players. You know, because City sometimes play with 5 midfielders. So I thought that would overcomplicate things. So I'm talking about an out of possession, yeah, and just general.
So, in your opinion, City are favorites when Rodri is back to win the Premier League next season. Number one.
If we sign a right back, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Just a right back. That's very interesting, actually.
Right back. Well, it depends what happens in the summer, doesn't it? If Ederson leaves, then we'll need to sign a goalkeeper.
If Gundogan leaves, you need to sign someone. If Bernardo leaves, you need to sign someone. If Kevin De Bruyne leaves, Kevin De Bruyne hasn't renewed yet. I know he wants to stay one more year.
Yeah, it depends on the outgoings, of course it does. But in terms of like looking at the state of the squad now, and just like incomings, bare minimum is a right back needs to come in, preferably one who can either go up to right wing or who can invert. You know, that's why City are looking at Cambiasso.
Dumfries. You can get Dumfries.
Chill. I don't want the bozo man who you keep having a go at. Yeah.
He has picked up, to be honest with you, he has picked up massively lately. Massively.
Yeah, good. Oh, right, you want to keep him then? Good for you. You can keep him then.
He's so bad on the ball that Pep will even grow hair. He's so bad on the ball that Pep will grow hair if the guy plays for Man City, to be honest. But
well, yeah. So get a right back. And again, if another injury crisis happens, then you can't really do anything about that. You know, like if like Ruben Diaz does his ACL, then that's another situation, isn't it? And he misses the entire season. You can't really accommodate that. You can't really plan or circumvent that. You know, if your most important player or one of your best players gets injured for the entire season, you know, it's like Liverpool in the 2020-21 season. Like Van Dijk missed like however much of the season, and then
the season after the injury with Pickford,
exactly, and then like
they were done after this because Matip got injured and they were finished.
and the reason and the reason they were done was because their midfielders had to drop into centre back, so they had no chance. That's us this season. We've really had no hope this season because Stones and Ake had more defensive burden on them anyway, with Rodri not protecting them. They're already injury prone as is. They get injured. Then players who were never injury prone at City, like Akanji and Ruben Diaz, they get injured as well. And then the players who were injured before get rushed back, and then they get injured again, and it's this cycle. And it means that we've played our best back four collectively for less than 90 minutes this season. We've played our best back four twice this season. Once against Forest, Akanji didn't make it till half-time. And then once against Real Madrid, and Akanji didn't make it until half-time. So this is what we've been working with this season. Now, if something like that happens, obviously, you can't really do anything about that. But I'm assuming that there's no ridiculous... This is why with my predictions... Sorry, I know I've spoken a lot there. I always caveat my predictions by saying, bar any mental injuries, because you can't really plan for mental injuries, in fairness.
For whatever reason, when I'm looking at Liverpool, I think they're more... If Liverpool do the signing that they said they're going to do, they're going to replace a striker, they're going to get a DM, they're going to get a left back, I still believe that team is more complete than Manchester City.
It might be.
Arsenal get Eucharist or someone from that ilk, I hope that they don't get Cisco. I believe their defense and midfield is good enough to actually go and be one of the favorites to win the title. I'm waiting to see consistency from City for me to say, yes, you are favorites to win the league next season. Consistency, like yesterday's game, 5 games or 6, 7. Okay, let's say there's 14 games left, right? If I see the same performances in like 10 games, I'd say, yes, you're fully back. But if I see ups and downs, you play Liverpool next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. If Liverpool go to the Etihad and just dominate and play a better game than City, I'd say, yeah, there is still a long way to go for these players. We've seen Marmoush score a hat-trick yesterday, but we have seen 2 games where he wasn't good.
I don't think you can use this season as a blueprint based on what was discussed. No. Because this side would be very different. We've seen, haven't we? Again, this squad is the same squad as last season, but it's actually technically better. But last season we got 91 points, was it? 89.
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
91.
Run for like 70 odd this season, and that's because of the Rodri situation, and then everything else surrounding it. And that's bad squad building, of course. Hopefully, we have addressed that slightly with Nico. Best is yet to come. It was already fantastic yesterday. And yeah, we will need to sign a right back. We will need to sign a central midfielder. Probably need to sign another centre back. If one of Ake or Stones leaves, or both of them leave, I don't know. If De Bruyne leaves, maybe a midfielder, or maybe we'll see this season because Echeverry's still to come. There's lots of hype around him. I haven't yet seen enough of him. I will do shortly. Maybe he'll be embedded in this season as well. I've also got to note Oscar Bob, who was going to be our starting right winger this season, hasn't played a game since the Community Shield. So he's another player who will actually hopefully not break his leg, but before the Premier League starts, and will actually have a role to play. So it's exciting. Get rid of lots of the old players, bed in some newer ones. It'll be a lovely time.
Well, we'll see what happens in this. This is going to be one of the biggest summers in City's history, to be honest. It's just this summer, to be honest. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Guys, we're still not on 200 likes, and now we've reached 450 people watching, and we're not on 200 likes. Hit that like button, people. I'm sure there is 200 of you that haven't hit that like button. Moving on. I know I'm not sure if you have watched the Arsenal game yesterday fully, or watched the highlights or something. Oh, really?
I watched the game, yeah. I normally watch the Arsenal game, yeah.
What did you make of it? Were you bored, like Lee said? Lee did a fan cam and said, bored Lee fan cam.
Yeah, it was a bad game of football to watch, yeah.
Horrific, to be honest.
Yeah.
The quality was shit.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that was always going to happen when you've got Arsenal who are the massive favourites and they should win, and you've got Leicester who know that full well, and they know that they're outclassed, so all they want to do is not concede a goal. Yeah, that's going to happen, That's not necessarily Arsenal's fault. That's how the opposition sets up. That's just a reality. Leicester didn't want to concede a goal, so they defended, and they're well within their right to do that. Yeah, I mean, they got the job done. Sorry,
let me start the conversation. I said that if Arsenal can shithouse their way into a win against Forest away, 1-0, corner, a cross like this, they have after this Man United away, which is, we know that Man United with Amad Diallo and Kobe Meno. They have Chelsea at home, Fulham at home, Everton away. They have basically winnable games until the end of the season. Can Arsenal sustain something like shithouse their way until they reach the Liverpool game? And they're giving themselves a chance at least to win the league? Or you are from the camp that says the league is already over and Liverpool won it. There's no point.
No, the league's not over. I still think Liverpool win the league.
Yes, me too. Same. I'm just putting this out there.
Yeah. But that's because my starting point is I think Liverpool will win at Anfield. So I'm looking at the gap, and I appreciate that right now, is it 4 points?
Liverpool play today, Wolves at home. Okay, logically speaking, Liverpool can drop points. Logically speaking, Liverpool should.
But who knows? Let's say that, City do Arsenal a favour and somehow beat Liverpool. It's not going to happen. But for argument's sake, let's say it somehow did happen, and it's only 4 points. You look at that and go, oh, it's only 4 points. In my head, that's actually 7, because I do think that Liverpool will win at Anfield.
Same here, actually. You know that. Same here.
Yeah,
I think like this.
Yeah, so that's why I can't. Again, maybe we'll get to that game, and maybe there'll only be like a 1 point gap. But just fundamentally, I do think Liverpool will win that match, and then the gap increases, doesn't it? So yeah, look, Arsenal won't be a million miles away, but I do just think that Liverpool will ultimately win the title. Yeah, they've illustrated this season they've been the better side. With the best team in the world, you could argue.
They are factually the best team in the world.
Yeah, well, there you go. Salah's on for a potential Ballon d'Or season. We'll have to see what happens in the Champions League on that, because we know how weighted it is towards that the last 10 or so years. That's one of the reasons I want you to knock out Real Madrid. So that like a Vinicius or Bellingham doesn't win it?
Okay, the propaganda is already starting from Brazil and from everyone that Vini will win it, even if Real Madrid only win the league, they will give it to Vini just to compensate of what happened last season. I'm like, I don't want that. So I want Real Madrid out of the Champions League. So Vinny have no chance. Basically, you're out in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Because I want to see Salah win the Ballon d'Or, and then next season it's going to be Marmoush, hopefully.
Well, you need City to win the Champions League for that, or Egypt to win the World Cup. I guess that could also happen, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, freaking next year is a World Cup, so yeah, there's no chance.
Yeah,
no chance, basically.
Yeah. So hey, I'd like to happen as well because obviously it means City go through, of course. That you're right though. That has already happened, even like with UEFA as well. Like Vinicius somehow got man of the match against City. He wasn't even the third best Real Madrid player.
He was shit.
He was
not actually good at all.
No, I know.
I was watching the game. He wasn't even good.
No, I know, but it's because I mean they didn't even understand the banner that City fans put out. It wasn't even targeted against Vinicius. But again, these people have defunct brain cells, so they clearly can't compute that. Yeah, look, we'll see what happens there. Arsenal, of course, they have a great chance. As far as I'm aware, their defense that they don't have any true injuries in terms of like their goalkeeper, defense, midfield. Like they were able to put out their first choice defense midfield against Leicester. It's obviously the attack, but in fairness, I don't know if creating chances is going to be too much of a problem. I think Arsenal's problem for the majority of the season and indeed last season was more so about finishing them. And I don't think that Havertz being out necessarily changes anything from that perspective.
It does.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree there.
I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
Even though Havertz is not good, right? Having someone to play a striker even makes a difference other than Trossard or Sterling. Because you get my point. It doesn't matter how bad the striker is, right? You will have to have a forward to play because Arsenal have none. You get my point? Like Mikel Merino is not a sustainable striker option.
Why not?
Because he's not a striker. He was never trained to be a striker.
So you just said then that the point of having Havertz there isn't about him actually being a striker. It's about him being a body.
He's a forward.
It's about but you just said there it's about him being a body and base. And maybe I made a leap there. And I inferred from that what you're talking about is disrupting an opponent, creating space for other people, maybe winning knockdowns, maybe winning aerials, and being a nuisance. Now you don't need a striker to do that.
Maybe, but I'm still not convinced that a midfielder can change his career after 6-7 years of playing in a midfield.
It doesn't have to be Merino. That was a tongue-in-cheek comment, but
yeah, okay.
The point is that there are solutions. City won 2 titles in a row without a striker. We had a false 9. Why can't I like?
Because he's not even a forward player.
No. But why can't I like Nwaneri a lot? When Saka comes back, why can't Nwaneri play false 9?
Can I address something just before we go on?
You're not about to slander Nwaneri, are you?
No. The guy that is saying Kingdom of Games, you're really on a channel called Footy Judge Mo, and you're just saying Mo's accent is annoying.
Yeah, but that guy's a moron, Mo. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm just gonna say. Every comment you put in is giving me money, is making me money, basically what you're doing. It is my channel, and you are subscribed. That's why you can comment. And basically, you're watching me, and you're one of 500 people watching the channel. So if you want to get involved if you want to get involved in the conversation, it's fine. If you want to keep slandering, I'm not even timing you out. I'm just going to tell you that you keep slandering Nobbins, myself, Hussam, and everyone, and I'm sure you're subscribed to all 3 channels. So hold that. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't insult Mo. It's outrageous.
Yeah, go ahead. Now, Nwaneri, for me, I said what I said yesterday. I said he has more to his game than Saka. I thought he is very talented footballer. I said that these injuries are blessing in disguise because now Nwaneri is going to have to play. And someone put a comment on my video yesterday that said that these injuries is the reason why Arteta's forced to play Nwaneri on the right side, is why Arteta's forced to use Merino as a striker. And that is maybe a blessing in disguise because a lot of people don't believe that Arsenal will win the league. So yeah, maybe these injuries will give you a chance to develop Nwaneri, because you can tell he's so talented as a footballer. Play with both feet, can take on his man, can cross, can create, can shoot with both feet as well. So for me, I think Saka's injury, I know it's bad for Arsenal, and I know that he's the star of Arsenal, but that will give Nwaneri time to shine, to develop. Basically, as a 17 years old, the more game time you get without pressure, right? And I know there is pressure on him, but the pressure on him is less than Odeegard, Rice, Partey, like these guys. He's the youngster, basically. And it looked like he's playing freely. And I think that is a blessing in disguise, in my opinion.
See, I'm going to argue the opposite. I think that the state of Arsenal's squad, even without injuries, and the quality of Nwaneri, coupled with his physical attributes, I think that he would have got into the side anyway. I think that he would have had minutes at right wing to give Saka some time off. But I also think that I just think that naturally, even without all these injuries, I think that he will replace Odegaard. That's probably how I see it.
I think he's a right wing more than I see, and I explained that to Hussam. Youngsters normally tend to develop better when they have the line to protect them. Because when you play in the midfield, you always have to scan 360. And as an inexperienced player, it is harder. When you play on the line, on the right or the left, you have 180 to scan most of the time. Always wingers receive the ball facing the opposition. Especially when you have a player like Odegaard that can create spaces for you to receive. Like Nwaneri is always receiving the ball facing the opposition. He doesn't have to worry about what's behind him, because he has the line protecting him. And I think that will develop him easier than developing in the midfield at that age.
I agree that it would be easier to throw a young future midfielder out on the wing to develop. I take that point, but I think that a lot of the reasons why it's harder to do that for midfielders is, it might just be by virtue of the competition in front of them. I don't think that's a stumbling block in terms of Arsenal squad. That's not a dig. That's just a reality. But I think that what Nwaneri has, in addition to that lack of a squad obstacle, is also he's not weak. He's not frail. Yep. He's actually quite built. He's 17 years old, right? He's not got the body of a 17-year-old, really. Like he looks like physically he's already able to deal with Premier League midfielders and defenders, not to like an absolute really brilliant degree, but in the context of a 17-year-old, he's not going to get bullied. So yes, I think that you can, and especially when you've got very, very physical midfielders like Declan Rice and Merino, Partey, whoever, who can complement him and also quote protect him if needed. I don't think you actually need to worry about trying to integrate him slowly on the wing and then push him to the center. I think that there could just be a natural evolution to, and basically just going straight into the center. And I do think that sooner rather than later, I'm looking at Odegaard. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at Odegaard. I'm going, I might want, if it's a choice between, again, from my perspective, if I was an Arsenal fan, if it's a choice between sticking with Odegaard or getting Nwaneri into the side and getting him up and running, I'd opt for that. This is not a Foden situation. Odegaard is not Kevin De Bruyne or David Silva or Gundogan. And that sounds very harsh on Odegaard, but that is the landscape of the Arsenal squad. He's not competing with these truly elite players. Odegaard's a very good player, but especially when they're going to bring in Zubimendi, because that's happening, right? I don't know if that's confirmed.
Not confirmed. Not confirmed.
It's unofficially official, whatever you want to say. When you have a base of Zubimendi and Rice, one of Odegaard's best qualities for me, because again, this isn't a dig, this is just the reality of the situation. Rice needs someone next to him to drop deep and help him progress the ball in terms of the passing. That's not a dig. That's just his skill set. When you've got Zubimendi, You don't need Odeegard to be dropping deep and doing that. So
Yep.
I'm now looking at Odeegard and I'm thinking, well, one of your main contributions to the side, all of a sudden, it is.
Don't you think that is by design, Nobbins? I said that many times. I thought that the problem at Arsenal is that they don't have a ball progressor like Odeegard, and that's why he drops deep. Odeegard, when he started, he was a flat out 10, a creator up top. And the problem with Arsenal is that it's Mikel Arteta's fault.
Yes.
Okay, circumstances. You get my point? It's circumstances and how, like, the way they built the team, the rebuilding of the team happened, that Odeegard now has to receive the ball sometimes from Saliba and Gabriel, instead of receiving the ball from the Rices, the Parties, the Timbers, higher on the pitch. But what the conversation we're having now is basically pointing to that Odeegard is not good enough in terms of creation.
Odeegard is an 8. Yeah. Now, you don't need, I'm of the view that you don't need an 8
if you have double pivot.
If you've got some Mendy and Rice. So that's my starting point. Now, Nwaneri is clearly, well, the way I haven't seen it enough of him, but people have watched, like, Arsenal and the academy, they say he's much more of an attacking midfield, more of a 10. So that tells me that if you're starting, if your midfield is Rice, Zubimendi, it makes a bit more sense for me from, like, just a balance perspective to have someone who doesn't, if like one of Odegaard's best contributions is he's dropping deep and helping, but now he doesn't need to do that. And Nwaneri is naturally more gifted.
Can I interject?
Can
I interject? So we have a debate about this. That is this season. One of the main things that Odeegard used to do, which is, it's backed by numbers, that last season he was the highest player to create chances from open play. That is the job of a 10 or a high 8, or you know what I mean? Like someone who plays as a high 8. So factually speaking, backed by the numbers, he is a creator. He can create. He's been limited by the role that is being asked from him to play. If you have a double pivot, you can get that Odeegard back that played last season or the season before, when he creates a lot of chances. That's numbers. That's not Mo. He was the highest in Europe in open play creation. So that is facts.
I just
you get my point here, right?
No, I understand.
I believe we're being fooled by what happened this season with Arsenal. That he's dropping deep and he didn't create a lot.
I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers. I'd be very wary of chances created as a metric, because that just means passes which have led to shots. So I'm not going to comment on that data because I've not seen it yet. Just in terms of, like, watching Odeegard, I just don't know if he's naturally that sort of player. And I think that, again, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm not saying it has to happen overnight and that you start an 18-year-old every single game. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that for me, I would be more than happy to see if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be more than happy to see next season Nwaneri start a fair number of games. And I don't think it should be a case that, Odeegard is the locked-in attacking midfielder and Nwaneri can come off the bench and he can start, the odd cup games. I don't think that should happen. I think that it's more likely that there might be some Premier League games where actually Nwaneri should start. That's what I would do. And if I was an Arsenal fan, that's what I would want. Now, who knows? Maybe they'll do some business in the window and they'll sign like an attacking midfielder, and maybe that will happen. But
I actually think the fact that a lot of Arsenal fans are agreeing with you in the chat is astonishing after all the fights that Arsenal fans had over the past 2 years about Odeegard being one of the best players in the league. Actually, I think it's actually crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, this is assuming that Zubimendi comes in and now the landscape changes.
Probably, but I don't know. I just think that...
I'm not saying drop him.
I said that Maddison is better than Odeegard in the beginning of last season based on what I've seen from Maddison at Leicester, and I assumed that he would go to Spurs and replicate that. But Odeegard proved me wrong by having a good season last season and creating abundance of chances and having the highest XG assists or whatever that you call that. Like, Odegaard should have had more assists, and because of the bombs that play up top, he didn't have that, right? But Odegaard created a lot of chances, and his role has changed this season. I still think he plays all right. But I think that it's Mikel Arteta's fault or circumstances or Arsenal, red cards, whatever, and the way they play. That is what forced him not to be that creator. You know what I mean? It's, and the people that say, which is, guys, before we go on, hit that like button. We have 500 people in the house. Also, make sure to subscribe to Nobbins. His channel is the only channel in the description this time. So make sure to subscribe. And listen to Luke. Big up Luke for supporting the channel. Even 20 here. 20 Hardway is saying El Capitano, which means Odegaard has 2 seasons to prove he can play deeper because it's not Saka whose spot is in jeopardy. That right half space already belongs to Ethan Nwaneri. Already people are writing off Odegaard and saying that Odegaard has to change his game. I don't know. Do Arsenal fans really agree with this? Like, we are from outside. Do Arsenal fans agree with this? That Odegaard, that Ethan already should be starting for Odegaard? Is that already full-on conclusion?
I'm not going that far. I'm just saying that it shouldn't be a nailed-on thing that, you know, Odegaard is absolutely that starting player. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that it should be explored.
Like, from Odegaard as being one of the best players in the season to changing the tone completely, that Ethan Nwaneri will be the 10. I think Ethan Nwaneri... I'm still convinced that Ethan Nwaneri can be a great midfielder, but I think that Saka spot on the right side, Ethan Nwaneri have developed. Saka can play on the left. Saka is more versatile. And even if Ethan Nwaneri play on the left, and because Ethan Nwaneri can play with both feet, in my opinion, so which can help him. Saka's more left-footed. So maybe Ethan can play on that left side and can be the starting left-sided player. Can I ask you something? Do you think Arsenal can develop to play one DM and Odegaard and Ethan Nwaneri?
Arteta would never do that.
Why? If he has a solid back four centre-backs playing, a DM that is solid covering the space, Odegaard is adapting to play deeper a little bit, as people say. Ethan Nwaneri can be the guy that provides the spark up top. Pep did it.
I don't think Arteta will ever do that.
Because
of the last couple of seasons, he's illustrated a desire and a preference for defensive solidity above all else.
Having 5 centre-backs and a DM like Declan Rice, maybe he can provide that.
5 centre-backs, what?
Sorry, 4 centre-backs and a DM, which is back 5, basically. Like Rice doesn't move forward. I think that can happen, actually.
I don't think so. No, I don't know what to say other than that. I don't think he'll do that. No,
I hope to see it.
It'll be fun to watch. But
but what if he evolves as a coach? What if he changes as a coach? What if he learns? What if he finds the right solution for this?
Well, yeah, but what if he grows tits? Like,
but even Pep develops. Even everyone develops. Yeah, everyone evolves.
Okay.
Everyone evolves.
If he changes his fundamental philosophies that we've seen from the past couple of years, and absolutely. And I tell you what could also happen: he could play Saka at centre back.
Oh, don't be fraudulent. You're not that guy. Don't be fraudulent. You're not that guy.
I'm just saying that if we're going into hypotheticals, then he could do anything.
It's not a hypothetical. It's a very plausible situation.
It is objectively a hypothetical. You're saying, what if this happens? That is a hypothetical. What do you mean?
He did try something like this before. He played Havertz and Odegaard in the midfield with only Declan Rice.
And how did that go?
Already did that.
How did that go?
Did that for half a season.
And how did that go?
So maybe he can find a better solution for it.
Okay, maybe it could. Maybe he can find absolutely.
He already did it. He did it with Emil Smith-Rowe. He did it with Havertz in the midfield. He already did that before. Maybe with better players. Okay, let me explain to you. Okay, logically, let's be logical. We're both logical people.
By the way, this is also under the proviso that and the caveat rather that Zubamendi's coming in. Yeah.
By the way, I'm not here saying that Zubamendi is coming. I believe Zubamendi at the end is going to do Arsenal exactly as he did Liverpool, and he's going to stay in Spain.
Okay,
just establish this.
I thought Fabrizio said that's basically a here we go. maybe
No, no.
have I misremembered
Actually,
something?
Spanish media said that's all rubbish.
Oh,
He
right.
hasn't
Okay.
decided. He actually said, I haven't decided yet.
Right.
That's
Okay.
not me. That's not me, by the way. That's just what Spanish media said. So
Okay.
you want to
Yes.
believe this or you want to believe that? It is up to you.
Okay. Yeah,
It
I
is
don't
up
know
to
enough.
you.
I don't know enough about the situation, to be fair. I thought it was basically a certainty.
So Arsenal as a team averages 60% ball position normally when they have all their players fit. That's a team that averages 60% ball position.
Yes.
That's a team that is playing on the front foot. People that say that Arsenal are defensive, they aren't defensive. They just were forced to be in defensive because of the injuries and because of the way they play, because of their circumstances and all the red cards, right? But factually speaking, Arsenal average 60% ball position. They do that. I believe because he did it when Odeegard was basically a number 10. Now, Odeegard has been developed lately and has changed the way he plays the game to be a number 8. You said that, I said that, everyone knows that, right? The problem is his defensive attributes are not amazing. Similar to Gundogan, for example. He's not a defensive player. He's more of a 80% offensive player or position-based player rather than 20% defensive player. So in my opinion, if Odegaard is playing on an 8, he drops deep, he gets the ball from Declan Rice and from the defense. Declan Rice is the shield in front of the defense. I genuinely believe that Nwaneri can be the left 8 for Arsenal, and you can have that because Odegaard has developed. You're basically not playing 2 10s. You're playing a 6, an 8, and a 10, basically. I think that is very plausible, in my opinion.
I'm just trying to figure it out in my head.
Yes, go ahead. Figure it out in your head. And people in the chat, I need you to figure it out as well.
Yeah, so because the way Arsenal play is that one of the defenders is either going to push up into midfield or into one of the forward lines. So let's say that player is Timber, for argument's sake. So then in possession you'd have a back 3 of like 3 centre backs, Saliba, Gabriel, and whoever.
And they have the perfect guy for it, which is Calafiori, who's a left centre back, basically.
Yeah, so let's say that back 3 is Calafiori, Gabriel, Saliba, whatever, and then Timber pushes up into, let's say, for argument's sake, right central midfield.
But why do you need that? Why do you need Timber to do this? If you have Odegaard dropping deep next to Declan Rice, why do you need Timber to do that?
Because you need to create an overload in midfield.
In position or out of position?
In possession.
I don't think they do. They still play with 3 now and they're fine in position. So why do you need another midfielder there if you have Declan Rice, Odegaard, and Nwaneri, 2 very good position-based footballers?
But Arsenal always play with a back 3 or a back 2 in possession.
Arsenal don't invert as much, actually, like before. Not every game.
They do.
Not every game.
They do. They never have a flat back 4.
Sometimes Lewis Kelly inverts, but it's not like Man City in the triple season where every time on the ball there is an inverting guy.
I don't think I've ever seen Arsenal have a back 4 this season in possession, a flat back 4. I've never seen that, unless I'm being stupid.
Okay, if Timber, I'm gonna go with your plan. Timber inverts. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then you'd have like Rice at the base, wouldn't you? You'd have, let's say, Timber at right central midfield. I'm thinking of like a diamond midfield basically.
Nwaneri and Odegaard.
You'd have Odegaard. Yes, so that could work definitely. Yes, that could work.
Okay.
There is no place for Zubimendi in that team. That's the caveat there. But technically, yes, it could work. Yes, and then out of possession, you'd have to have Rice and Odegaard, which is solid, to be fair. So yes, absolutely it could. But then there's no place for Zubimendi.
You don't, but Zubimendi comes in, maybe starts for Declan Rice some games, maybe Nwaneri doesn't start every game. The rotation happens. They play in every competition.
Sure.
Does Zubimendi start every game? Does Declan Rice start every game? The problem with this plan is that Declan Rice has to start every game because of the defensive attributes that he has. Basically, you cannot have Nwaneri, Zubimendi, and Odegaard. That is not defensive enough, right?
Yeah. In order for that to happen, and again, if Zubimendi comes in, then Zubimendi would have to learn how to play more advanced, because sometimes he would have to be playing instead of Odegaard.
Yes.
So he would have to learn how to, because right now he's a 6. This is why I didn't want him at City, because Zubimendi's not a 6-8 hybrid. he's a 6. So he would have to add that string to his bow. And he could absolutely do that, maybe. But that is something that would have to happen in order for that system to work.
Very important question is that we all slag off Arsenal, not you.
I
but
don't.
The majority of the people talk about Arsenal not having the right backups. Isn't bringing Zubamendi, even if when you have Declan Rice, Odeegard, Merino, and Nwaneri, is the good thing that Arsenal must do to be able to take them to the next level? Isn't that what people want Arsenal to do?
Sorry, what was the question?
Yes, the question is, people say that you cannot bring Zubamendi if you're going to play that system because now nobody's guaranteed a starter. But isn't that what Arsenal must do to be going to the next level? Even Nico Gonzalez, when Rodri's back, is not a guaranteed start. No one is a guaranteed starter at City apart from Haaland, basically. Like everyone else is interchangeable. So that is what Arsenal should do, right? Like even bring in Zubamendi, even if you're going to play that system.
Well, especially his part is going as well, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So you definitely need someone. Yeah, that's obvious.
There is someone, and there is someone from that ilk. A guy that is in expecting to start the majority of the games. You get the difference.
Yeah. Of course. And, Zubamendi comes in, straight swap for Partey. That makes total sense. Doesn't help the necessarily the attacking depth situation. But yeah, in terms of like, one in, one out, makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Let me do a couple of these. Jack, big up Jack for supporting the channel. Thank you, Jack. I agree with Nobbins. I've said it for years. Odeegard needs a specific environment to thrive. Saka ain't shifting. Talent like Isan is not waiting for anyone. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, Jack. Main issue with Odeegard is that he can't write contact and receive in the block. He needs the game in front of him. Also lacks running power, which affects transition. I actually completely disagree with the first one, but I agree with the second one that he's a little bit slow. But I disagree. Odeegard's touch is really good in the half turn. Odeegard knows how to scan. Odeegard have shown time and time again, Jack, that he can receive under pressure, that he knows what's around him, that he can scan 360 and get away from the defender with his first touch. Did you agree? Many times Odeegard has done that, to be honest.
I think that Jack's main concern is that Odeegard he's not, in the moments where he needs to be, he's not vertical enough. Quite often, Odeegard will receive the ball and delay. It's like I've seen it with Kovacic, for example, where he receives the ball and the first instinct should be to like pass it forwards, but Odeegard will want to hold on to the ball and carry it a little bit more. I don't know if that's what Jack's saying, but that'll be one of my criticisms of Odeegard in terms of transition. And I like Odeegard, by the way. But yeah, he could be more direct and vertical in those moments.
There's a lot of people that don't like Odeegard somehow in the chat.
He's a very good player. I don't know why. He's a very good player.
People have done revisionism on Odeegard, which is kind of strange to me, to be honest. He has proved a lot of people wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd like to see Odeegard as a left, 8/10, because I think that could like maybe unlock his left even more so. I think he played I can't remember the game it was. There was a game where he played there. I think it might have been in the Champions League. It might have been like against Porto. It was like a knockout game. Maybe it was Porto. I can't remember. But he actually played or at least took up positions in that left 8/10 area. And he was wonderful. I'd like to see that personally.
Yeah. Guys, I got a shameless plug before we end the show. Couple of shameless plugs, actually. Number one, subscribe to Nobbins. Hit that like button. I'm actually 2 subscribers away from 29,600, which is another step to the 30K that I'm targeting within the next 2-3 weeks. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe from your mom's account, dad's account, your brother's, sister's account, kid's account, if you have kids. So let's get to 29,600 within the next 1 minute. And like the video. Also, Nobbins, what do you got coming up? I'm actually going to do something after this, but go ahead.
So if you like tactical analysis, my channel's for you. If you want to learn more about, Nico, Kusanov, and Marmoush, I've done, in my opinion, very good detailed analysis videos on them. Would recommend. I still need to do my analysis video on Vitor Hayes. Apologies there. But in general, what you can expect from my channel is, in my view, a high level of hopefully analytical and tactical insights. So if you like football tactics and analysis, and just like hopefully fun streams as well, where I engage with the chats and we have conversations about all sorts of things, my channel is for you.
Absolutely. And after this stream, I'm going to big up to do actual tactical analysis of the Man City, Newcastle, Arsenal, Leicester, Chelsea game with footage from the. Have you ever seen that, Nobbins?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to chat about it here. I don't know how they're doing that from a legal perspective.
It's a legal thing. They actually done it with Peacock, and they actually have
that's
legal,
very impressive then. Okay,
they have legal rights actually for that.
That's very cool then.
Yeah, they actually have legal rights for this. If you want to come in and join me for like 5 minutes to see that City Newcastle, that'll be great.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Why can't YouTube do that?
They can't.
What
because YouTube is global. I don't know how, but it's actually legal that Big Up actually show the footage from the game.
That's really cool, to be fair.
Yeah. I spoke with them and I asked for the legality of it, and they said they're legal.
That's cool.
But before we go on, there's one question from AMT. How do you compare Arteta and Wenger in terms of coaching? Nobbins can answer that, and I can answer this.
I don't know if I can. I need to. Arteta's still relatively
young.
Yeah, in a relatively early days of his coaching. What I would personally like to see more from Arteta. Well, no, I wouldn't like to see it because then he'd do better. In order for him to improve as a manager, what I would like to see from Arteta is, I think, a better degree and willingness to problem solve. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Deal with adversity, you mean? Injury,
Maybe.
being behind 1-0, being 2-1 behind.
Yeah, more like in match, and even like some the speed of decisions as well. Like, for example, there was the Brighton game, I think it was, where Rice got red carded, and there just seemed so much time to change things and to adapt, and then you go in half time 1-1. It was all lovely and changed in the second half. I feel like that should have happened almost immediately in terms of the adaptation and the changing the system and making the sub. So maybe like in terms of like problem solving in game, that's maybe just what I'd like to see more from Arteta.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, maybe, but he's young. But I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah,
Arsene Wenger is way more attacking based than Mikel Arteta. AMT, to answer the question, Arsene Wenger is more of a front foot guy attacking than Arteta. Arteta's a front foot manager, but Arteta has he likes to be solid defensively first before attacking. To be honest. He likes to be more solid in defense. But listen, people, click on the link. Let's get you guys to Big Up. Hit that link, guys, that is in the chat now. Please hit that link in the chat. So come and support me on Big Up. I'm going to do some quickly 20-30 minutes of like tactical analysis of the City with footage from the games, which is something that we don't have on YouTube. Thank you, Nobbins, for showing. That was one of the best shows I've done for a bit. Great breaking down of the games. Good luck against Real Madrid. I hope that you knock them out. Please, for the sake of Mohamed Salah.
I'll try, mate. I'll try.
Yeah. And I will see you guys later. Click the link. We're out of here, people.